Welcome to the Northeast Kingdom Voice. I'm your host, Scott Wheeler. Today's guest is Mike Haddad, the new minister at the Derby Community Church. Welcome to the show, Mike.
Thanks, Scott. I'm happy to be here.
Or should I say Pastor Haddad?
You know, you can call me Mike. You can call me Pastor Mike. If you think of a more creative name, you can even call me that if you like.
So, hey, it's great that you're coming on because you are new to the community.
Very new. I've only been here about 6 weeks, so a little over a month.
So how are you liking it so far?
Well, I've been to Vermont quite a bit because my wife is from Vermont.
Right.
She's from the western part of northern Vermont, so by New York and Canada.
Right.
But similar cultures, similar scenic views, similar types of folks that are just Vermonters at heart. So I've been up here enough to experience that over the last 7 or 8 years. But the Northeast Kingdom is by far, so far, my favorite part of Vermont. And I've loved being a part of the kingdom, as they call it. And I can say I live in the kingdom, and getting to know the culture and the people, the people who work here, who live here, who've grown up here their whole lives has been a lot of fun. And so it's a joy to be on this show, to say hello to everybody from the Northeast Kingdom that watches this show. It's just been a joy.
Yeah, I know. And I know you've been trying to ingrain yourself into the community because I actually met you just on Sunday.
Yep.
Well, it'd be a week ago, after this show is recorded, but at a postcard show for Chet Carpenter, who was, I don't know, had Chet passed?
Yes. I met Chet Carpenter. I was visiting before starting full-time. I'd come up once a month and visit, and so I actually got to go over to Chet's house, meet him, his daughter, Kathy Carpenter, get to know them a little bit. And then a few days before he passed away, I was back up here, and I spent some time, got to pray with him and let him get to know me, get to know him a little better. So I can say that I did get to know Chet just a little bit, and what a blessing it was to get to know that man. And so I was more than happy to go and be a part of that postcard show on Sunday afternoon.
You know, Chet was a legend. I don't know if you read I've written about Chet, including following his passing, because he was one of the most brilliant human beings I ever met. You as a pastor would only dream of having his ability to recall, because you wouldn't even, his ability to recall things, you would never even have to practice for your sermons because it would all be there.
Like a human catalog.
Oh, he was. It was like you could actually see him opening up filing cabinets in his mind as he recalled everything. Mm-hmm. Yeah, so that's where I met you, and then my father knows you, I think.
Wayne? Yep. Wayne and I see each other every week. We have a Wednesday morning men's breakfast that he's been coming to, and obviously on Sunday mornings. And he's a funny guy, so I can see where you get some of your personality too.
So what brought you to, because this is your first, is your first church, correct?
This is my first church as senior pastor is what my role is. I've been in about 5 churches before this where I've served either as a lay leader, which is someone that's not on staff, or served on staff in different capacities. But I grew up in Massachusetts, so my first ministry experiences were there. Then I went to college out in Chicago, and so I had some much different types of ministry experiences there, working with inner city kids, kids who come from broken homes, nursing home ministry in Chicago. It's such a diverse culture there, so meeting people from Romania, from South America, and then also small church ministry in Chicago with some city folks. And then I came back to Massachusetts after my undergrad, and I was a youth minister in a church north of Boston, running youth group, doing ministry for families, running events and stuff like that, and I loved it. But I've known for a while that my calling, so to say, is to pastoral ministry. Everything about it, preaching, teaching, visiting people at their home, like visiting Chet. That stuff just brings a lot of life to me. And as you know, going around and meeting folks and being out and about, it's just awesome. And there's nothing I'd rather do. And my wife, she loves to be around people, and she loves to have people over. So it's such a great excuse to just get to know everybody and be a part of the community.
Well, you and I, we actually share one thing, because you go into people's homes, you go into nursing homes, and
Yep.
I do too through my writing. And you know, because I call myself a ministry in its own, isn't just a different way. Because,
Exactly.
you know,
Yep.
because a lot of times with your role, sometimes, especially in nursing homes, is just listening.
Mm-hmm. And folks in nursing homes, they've lived quite a bit longer than I have, so they have a lot to share with me, a lot of their experiences that I haven't faced yet.
Right.
Some of them were in wars or faced the Great Depression even, and they can tell you all about that. So I love to just sit there and soak it all in.
Right. You know, there's I know it's a different religion, but the Catholic Church is one fellow who's been on my show a couple times. You don't think a Catholic priest is being hilarious,
Yeah.
but Father Charles Davenant, he's now at Michaud Manor.
Oh, okay, yeah.
And you know, if you ever have a chance to, you know, he must be about 90-ish, to sit down with him, because he was this he was this Brownington farm boy.
Sure.
And he got the calling when he was 13, and he sat right on my show, and his brothers used to tell him, he said, "You didn't get the calling, you just didn't want to milk cows anymore." So you and
Yeah.
you know, if you ever get a chance, you know, I know it's a different church, but
I've been getting to know folks from all different faith backgrounds.
Right.
I went up to St. Mary Star of the Sea and met Father Patrick,
Right.
who's from South Africa.
Yeah.
And that was amazing. And
So I would tell you, you ought to put it down. Tell him I sent you.
Okay.
And he's at Michaud Manor. He's totally
Davenant.
Davenant.
Davignon.
Yeah, we talked about that beforehand. How we English people really butcher the French names.
Oh, totally.
But
Yep.
but you people from Boston too, though, you can
We
really
butcher it an extra bit. Yeah. we push the envelope a little further when we butcher names of things.
You know, how did you happen to end up in the ministry? Like, sometimes you follow in a parent's footsteps. Are either one of your parents pastors?
No, so I did not grow up going to church. My mom had gone to church when she was young. Nobody else in her family did. On Sundays, she would wake up, get ready, and walk to the local congregational church in Foxborough, Massachusetts, which is where I'm from. And she started a legacy in her own family that hadn't been there before, of going to church. And her and my father, when they got married, they stopped going to church. He hadn't gone to church at any point in his life, really, except for when he was a little kid. He went to Catholic church and had First Communion and all that. But for most of his life, he had not gone to church. So my family, me, my brothers, and my sister, we didn't grow up going to church. But in 2001, my father passed away. And so immediately, the first place my mom wanted to take us, kids, having just lost a parent, our father, was to the church.
So you were young then.
I was 9 years old. Yep. It was July 2001. It was just before the September 11th attack. So all this is happening when I'm a 9-year-old, and I'm freaked out. My world's being completely torn apart and turned around. And church was the one place that my family found that we could find healing, be blessed by others, be ministered to. So we started going to this church in Foxborough called Church of Emmanuel. And the youth pastor there, Pastor Andy, took me under his wing, cared for me, cared for my family. And I actually came to be a believer of Jesus through going to that church and through the ministry of my youth pastor. So when I was about 13 or 14, actually, I decided I want to give my life to Jesus and I want to serve him and go into the ministry. And so since then...
so about the same age as Father Davenant. He said he was right about that same period.
A teenager, yeah. I knew at that point what I wanted to do with my life is what I'm doing right now, is serving people, serving the community, loving people, getting to know people in the community, preaching. I love to preach.
So you never deviated? You didn't? You knew what you were doing, or did you take side tracks to get to
there was a point that I thought I would go the music route, maybe be a music teacher or something like that. But even then, like, the back of my mind was I'd be heavily involved in a church. You know, I'd be doing what I also love music, so doing that, serving in a church, whether it's full-time or part-time. So never quite deviated. Even today, I still play music all the time.
Well, you're going to have to talk to the producer after the show, Todd Pronto, because he actually goes to Nashville some.
No way.
And he has some albums.
That's awesome.
And yeah, he's very much into music.
Oh yeah, I have a musician's heart and a pastor's heart. So
did you have support of your mother when you decided to take this route?
Oh, my mom has been my greatest support. Some people said, well, you know, how's that going to work out? Going into ministry, it's not going to pay well. It's harder than you think it is. And which is also good because I need to be challenged and I need to see reality. But my mom, she was always someone that had my back. And if I was on track to do something, she wanted to make sure I was able to do it. And more than anybody, she's always been 115% supportive of where my life was heading.
You know, did you go to any non-Christian universities or colleges?
I went to a non-Christian high school, and I loved it, and I love all my non-Christian friends, and actually most of my friends didn't go to church, and I think people were confused by that. You know, how can someone who's so devoted to Christianity and going to be a pastor hang out with people that aren't like that? But that's kind of my personality. And
but isn't that what kind of Jesus believed in too?
Yes. The people you see Jesus hanging out with and the homes that Jesus went into were not the homes that you would expect a pastor to go into. But obviously I would like to reflect Jesus in my own ministry and going to people's homes, going to communities and places and talking with people who maybe have never been into a church or know the first thing about the Bible.
Right, and I think that's so important because I think sometimes, whether it's church or any other group, sometimes you get so focused on your little group.
Yep.
And you forget that about the people out there. And it's nice to focus on your group too.
Sure,
but like, for example, your church has so much potential because
that's right.
like Derby is a upwardly mobile community right now, and because as we've talked is Derby used to be the suburbs of Newport.
Sure.
And now it's almost the other way around because so that gives your church and you so much potential to really be a community outreach church.
Yeah.
And you have that great meeting area.
Yep. We're right there on the corner of US 5. Yeah. Right. There's people taking turns there all the time to go to Derby Line or wherever they might be going. So they're passing by our church. And the one thing I want people to know when they pass by is, hey, we're in business. Right. We're here. We're active in the community. And to your point, community is in the church's name. It's the center of Derby Community Church. And the reason for that is because we want to be a church for the community, a church that comes alongside the community, whether it's fighting the drug crisis, other things that we can be a part of, coming alongside, serving the community, however the community needs to be served, and getting to know people in the community,
I was going to ask you about that because you are a young guy. Some people might say, hey, wait a minute here. He's a kid. How is he going to help me? And, I understand, because you are ministering to some people who could probably be your great-grandparents.
They could.
But on the other hand, we also have a bit of a drug epidemic going on now. But I suspect that you even though I'm not sure about your background, at least being youthful, you probably have a lot to offer them too.
I sure hope so. I mean, you mentioned I'm young, and I am. I'm turning 25 in in less than a month.
You're younger than all my kids.
I'm younger. The people in my church, I'm young enough to be their grandchild or their great grandchild maybe. And so every day when I wake up and I look in the mirror and see how young I am, and then I see that title before my name, Pastor Mike, I'm like, this isn't real. But something about the Bible, something about ministry is God doesn't restrict it to certain ages. He doesn't say you have to be 40 in order to serve me, follow me, love other people. You look at the people in the Bible that God chooses to use, a lot of them are pretty young and a lot less skilled, a lot less experienced to be able to do what God's asking them to do. But he still calls them and uses people you wouldn't ever expect. And so, I expect that God will use me, even at a young age, to serve and minister to people. Because like you said, even just going to a nursing home and sitting there and giving your time and giving your ear to somebody is a great blessing.
Oh, sure it is. I think your age is actually wonderful because, as I said, I think there's an underserved population here, and it's young people. And I think you have the ability to hopefully attract some of them. Now, have you worked in the, with people with addiction?
I've had friends, close friends, who were addicted to drugs.
Right.
And it's tough because you want to be an advocate for them. You want to remain friends with them. But you also want to do what is right for them. So it's an interesting role working with someone who's addicted. And, in that area, something that's been happening is there are churches like Newport Church of God and other churches that are already, River of Life Church, that are already ministering to addicts. So the beautiful thing for me is I don't have to create this whole program and I don't have to create this whole plan to fight it. What I can do and what our church can do is really come alongside churches that already are having success at meeting those needs and learning from them. And so I've been meeting with and getting to know folks that are involved in ministering to people that are addicted, and I'm just learning and I'm just growing in that,
I assume area. Then you've met Pastor Wall.
I've not met Pastor Wall for his different, he has different medical things going on, but I've met people in his church that work right alongside him, and they've told me such great things of his ministry. And I've actually, just this past week, I've learned a lot about the opiate crisis, the drug crisis here.
Actually, I'll email you some, because Pastor Wall and some other folks were recently on my show, well, recently in the last 3-4 months, and they were on here talking about the opiate crisis. And I don't know if you realize, and this is all public, he spoke about it. He was he is a long-term recovering heroin user, and he spoke very openly about it.
Yeah.
And then, so I'll send you that, because that really delves in to the world of opiate addiction.
And that's exactly what I'm saying is, I've never been addicted to a drug. I can't say I know what it's like, but I can learn from other pastors and ministers who get it.
Right.
And that's exactly what I want to do, is learn from people like Pastor Wall.
Right. He's now, do you have, I have friends who are ministers, so I actually know they're real people too.
Yeah.
Because sometimes people have this thing that they look at somebody and they think of pastors, so they don't have. I remember going up to a guy that is about my age, a little bit older. His name is Father Royer, and one day I ran into him, and I didn't really know him well, but I know he's from a big hunting family around here. And I went up to him, Father Royer, I got a question of you. Do priests hunt? He says, oh yeah. I love to hunt. And he says, and you know what, Scott? I ride a motorcycle too.
That's awesome.
And it's just, but who are you in your non-pastoral life?
Well, like I said, I'm a musician. I could sit down in my basement and play guitar or drums for hours. Something I've been doing is I keep my ear open, and when I hear that somebody else is a musician, I get their contact info, and I want to start having people over and just jam out. That's what we call it, have a jam session. And so I love that.
By the way, I have zero musical talent.
Okay.
And if you ever need to clear out your basement at the end of the night, I will sing.
Okay.
And everybody will leave.
I'll keep that in mind. If it's a jam session that's not going so well, we'll have you come clear it out.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm a musician. I love to read, and not, I don't just sit there and read Christian books, but I love to read about history. So your Northland Journal, love reading that. I love fiction. I'm an outdoorsy kind of guy. I've never hunted. I've shot a rifle at a target, but I'd love to go out and do some things like that people in the area are doing. I'm a fisherman. I love getting out on the lake. I love going on hikes, camping, all that kind of outdoorsy stuff I like to do.
Right. And you got elk right in your backyard there.
Yep, some of our neighbors are elk. When I wake up in the morning and I look out the window, sometimes they're close enough to this side of the field behind our house that we can see the elk.
Have they? No, you haven't lived there through mating season yet. When they get there,
No.
you'll hear this. They whistle. It's a whistling sound. It's kind of
cool.
It's
Yeah.
kind of eerie.
Kind of eerie, okay.
Yeah, and that's when you don't actually want to stand sometimes too close to the fence because the bulls
Oh, no.
will actually come up and take their horns, and they see you as a potential I don't know, love interest or something.
Yeah.
Get in the way.
Well, that's good to know because I have two young kids. I have a daughter, Isabel, and a newborn, Teddy, and so she loves animals, and we'll take her to the zoo. She'll get right up to the fence, so I'll be sure to keep her back from the fence during mating season.
So you're married and have 2 children?
Yep, my wife Norma, she and I got married in 2012, the summer of 2012, and 2 years later we had Isabel, who is almost 2 years old, and then December 1st, just this past December, we had Teddy. Little guy. He's grown a lot in the last month and a half, and yeah, we love being parents. My wife and I love living in New England. We're both from New England. She's from Vermont, so we just love being up here.
So how did a Massachusetts boy and a Franklin County girl run into each other?
Well, I knew when I was about 14, 15 that I wanted to go into ministry. My wife knew. We're the same age. My wife knew when she was about that age that she wanted to go into ministry. And so there was this program called Compass that was for students that are considering going into ministry to see what it's like to spend a week learning theology and doctrine in the Bible, to spend a week on a mission trip, and to spend a week serving in different ways. And so we both went to that. Both of our pastors nominated us and sent us to that, and it was in the Boston area. And we met there, and then interestingly, we both applied to the same college in Chicago, and so we went to college together, began dating, and we got married in 2012, and we knew we wanted to go into ministry together, and we both had a heart for New England. And so it's just like the stars aligned and God made it all work out. And, I love her. I love her family. I love that she's from Vermont.
So is she an ordained minister too?
Nope, she's not. She studied like I did in undergrad. And she did a little bit of graduate study. So, we're on the same level. And I often say she's a bit smarter than me. So if you really have a tough question, go and ask her.
Yeah, I know how that is.
So it's been great that we've both had similar training. We both have been in ministry. So, coming into this position, we're not coming out of the dark into something completely new. We've both been in it. And so far, we're just thrilled to both be here, both doing ministry. And
the fact of the matter is I used to, my kids grew up with your predecessors. Well, Fred and Carol, Pastor Fred and Pastor Carol Ann Barker.
Yeah, they were a team.
Kids.
Yeah.
And So, Fred and I used to joke because I worked for the weekly newspaper, which went to print on Tuesday, and he preached on Sunday. And I said, I used to tell Fred, it must be nice to have one of those jobs you only work 2 hours a week, being a minister.
Yeah.
2 hours on Sunday. It's
exactly,
yeah.
yeah.
And he used to talk about me only working Tuesday nights. And so between us, we only work 2 days a week, but
it's a good deal.
we both knew. But there is, in all seriousness, I do think there's a lot of people who think, hey, you have a racket going here. You work 2 hours on Sunday and then the rest of the week off. That isn't the case, is it?
Not quite. If you have 50 people in your church, which is, we have roughly 50, 60 people coming, right. Some come twice a month, some come every week. Right. Even just that, if you think about it, there's 52 weeks in the year.
Right.
If you spend 1 week focusing on just one family, you're getting to know 50 different people, and some people, they're going through different things. You want to give them more of your attention. You're calling them more. You're spending time if they're going through cancer, if they just lost a loved one. So you see me on Sunday morning giving the message and having fellowship with the people at church, but what people don't see is that the pastor is on the phone. He's getting phone calls, emails. He's going out to meet with folks who just lost a loved one, who just found out they had cancer, those types of things. And then there's different people in the community that will call the pastor for some reason. Right. And I, as a pastor, want to go out and do stuff like this, right. Like meeting you at the postcard showcase on Sunday. So I think pastors have two choices. They can either be a pastor who does the bare minimum, which is get to know the people in their congregation and just serve them, or they can go a little bit farther than that and go outside their walls, like what I really want to do. And it takes more time, takes more effort, but man, it gives me life.
Right. And I think, I hate to say it, in this day and age, if you don't do like you're doing, the churches are gone.
Yep.
You've got to reach out, and that's how come I think it's super that you're coming in with a different mindset, with youthful vigor, and I think it's just like, as you said, we were at a card show, and then you heard me talking to Kathy, and you figured out who I was, and then you're here today. But the thing is, just doing what you're doing will help you fill the pews up, because a lot of churches are aging.
Sure.
The people are dying, and you've got to I think there are a lot of young people who really want to go.
Yeah.
But it's you've got to you've got to make them feel welcome. You got to do something a little. We're almost out of time here, but have you started bringing music besides singing into your sermons? Like, are you going to bring instruments?
I think so. I mean, I feel capable to do so, and I'm so musically inclined. My guitar sits up there on the stage. Right. It's up there right now at church, up there on the stage, and I've been grabbing it and using it to join in with different songs. But because of my musical background, I think that'll influence some of my sermons. I might bring in this lyric from this band that I like. I might do a song to close a sermon. Right. But yeah, my church, Derby Community Church, we're brainstorming. Churches are built to reflect the age in which they're built, but then time goes on. Right. And then ministries are crafted to meet the needs of the age in which they were crafted in. And so we're thinking, how is God going to transform what we're doing into something new? Honoring the traditions, honoring the people that have been there for so many years, because that's important. Right. You can't just say, okay, we're done with this, we're doing this. You need to honor and transform. Right. And, sometimes you got to chip away, and it takes time. Right. Other times God will do things very rapidly. So, music, that over time will just transform as the community is transforming. And
right. And as yours is like the classical New England or Vermont church.
Yeah.
But then you have that great meeting area,
the fellowship hall, beautiful area. Yeah.
The church has so much unmet potential, especially as Derby really continues to evolve. And
That's
the one
right.
thing, near closing time here, I've got to say is I've been really impressed by you. I'll tell you why is I think some people, they get into, oh, no, this is my church, that church over there. And,
sure, yeah.
I don't want to really think, because some people, even ministers, I think, view other churches as competition.
Sure, yeah.
And I've been impressed that you don't seem to feel that way.
I really don't. I think my attitude is I have a lot to learn.
Right.
And there's some great pastors and some great ministries and churches around here that I can learn from. And so, to me, that's a beautiful thing.
Right.
And I think to the people of my church, we're seeing more unity among different churches. Some of the guys from different churches are coming to our men's breakfast. Some of us are going to other church events outside of our church. So I think God's doing a new thing in this area among the churches,
Right.
where at some points it might have been, these are our four walls.
Right.
We don't go out of that. Now it's the walls are breaking down. People are mingling. People know each other. People know the pastors from different churches, and I'm excited to be a part of that.
Because let's be real, is we all occasionally get overcome by our own egos, and we have to look in the mirror.
We always have to.
And just remind ourselves what we're in this for, and that we're not in it for us.
That's right.
And,
the biggest hindrance to my ministry will be me. The only person standing in between me and doing what God wants me to and doing what I should be doing here is me.
Right.
And, as long as I look in the mirror and say to myself, don't get in your own way, I think, God will use me. And I think as long as the people of my church continue to look in the mirror and say the only person that's getting in the way of Derby Community Church growing is us,
Right.
I think we'll continue to grow.
And you're married, so your wife will probably humble you occasionally.
Every single day. It's like a full-time job.
I've been married for 31 years.
That's
older
awesome.
than you've and longer than you've been alive. We got married at I think 19 and 20, and I will say, you might as well learn. You're new in your marriage.
That's right.
Women are the stronger sex, and don't ever forget it.
We just bought a minivan, and it was made pretty clear that it's her minivan.
I don't think women are given enough respect sometimes.
That's right.
But I have dealt with people of all age groups, and especially I don't know about women elsewhere, but women in the Northeast Kingdom. They are strong women.
That's right.
And as I've told people, the minute that God says, okay, men, you guys are going to start giving birth, and women are going to watch, the human race will go extinct. Because we are sissies in the long run.
That's right.
And so.
Yeah, I owe it all to my wife for being able to be in ministry. And, every day I lean on her quite a bit, and she doesn't just take care of the kids. She doesn't just clean the house and the typical housewife things. She goes above and beyond. She keeps me in my place. She lets me know that she loves me, that she's praying for me. She's always encouraging me. Just the fact that if she sees I need a break, she'll let me go and play guitar for an hour. I mean, those things are a great blessing. And then, I in turn say, let me take care of the kids for a little while you go and take a nap.
Okay, well, we've pretty much used up our time, but I want to invite you back on in another few months. We'll get you, especially when you have an event coming up. But how can somebody reach you if they'd like to talk to you? You
can go to derbycommunitychurch.com, and we have a Contact Us tab. That's derbycommunitychurch.com. You can Google it, you can type it into the search bar, and you'll get our website. It's newly renovated. We got a Contact Us section. If you put a message in there, it'll go directly to me.
Yeah. And for the non-computer users, you have a phone number at the church.
Yeah, my phone phone number that would be best for reaching me at is my house number, and it's 766-3159.
Okay.
You can always reach me there.
Okay. I want to thank you for coming on.
Yeah,
and I'm
thank you,
actually
Scott.
excited about having you in the community because, I think the community church I think you are what they needed at this time. So I really do.
Thank you, Scott. Yeah, I appreciate that.
Okay, thanks for coming on, and you are always welcome to come on.
Thank you.
All right, thank you. And thank you to the viewers for tuning in to another segment of the Northeast Kingdom Voice.